Okay, so I fast forwarded a couple steps here. This is the fourth coat for the buttstock itself and the upper handguard, and the third coat for the lower handguard. And the reason it's only the third coat for the lower handguard is because you can kind of see where it's a little bit shiny there. I didn't get all the original finish off in some places, so I just decided to say screw it, and I put more, well, I gave it more time to dry, thinking it was just wet in that area. Then after it was the same, after another 12 hours of sitting there, I just said screw it, and I put over a little bit more tung oil on it. But now I'm pretty much just going to put on the third and fourth coats here. So I've already wiped all this down using a tack cloth, and now what I'm going to do is take some steel wool and make sure it's clean steel wool here. Yeah, there we go. And this is double-aught steel wool. I'm just going to rub everything down with it, and then I'm going to apply the third and fourth coats. And if you were doing this with wood that you just finished sanding and putting a stain on, what you do is you would just take your tack cloth, wipe down the top finish of it, and then that would just make sure that you don't have any dust that's on your dyed wood surface. Then you wouldn't need to use steel wool for that. You just use the tack cloth, wipe it down, and then you'd use your oil, your varnish, whatever you're using to finish off your wood. You just put that on there and pretty much just make sure it's a clean surface. And so let's get to it. So you just dump a little of the oil onto the cloth. Grab whichever piece that you're going to do first. In my case, it's just going to be the buttstock. And then with the grain, just rub it in. And then you just keep rubbing it in over everything that you want covered. And it's a good idea to wear gloves for this, just so that way you lessen the chance of leaving fingerprints or obvious marks in the finish of it. And just rub it everywhere, make sure it's in everything, and it's covering everything, and making sure that you're getting a good, even application. And then once everything's been coated in oil, you just set it aside and let it sit. With form bees, they recommend 12 hours of just letting it sit there to dry. Other applications might use different requirements. So again, it's something you want to read directions for. And again, you want to go with the grain on everything. Okay, so that'll be the 4th coats on the upper and the stock, and the 3rd coat on this lower handguard here. And you want to try to not leave bubbles or streaks if you're trying to do this in a kind of a perfect job. But if you don't really care too much about having a perfect job, like in this case it's stock for a military rifle, so I'm not going to be as picky as if it was a specialty hunting rifle that I just paid $4,000 for, and I want to make sure that it has a stock that I like on it. And I'm also doing this for myself, so it's not for a particularly picky customer. If you're a gunsmith and you're doing this for a customer that's really particular about how they want their stock to look or how they want everything to be, then you want to make sure that you've talked to them about what they are expecting as far as finishing work. And then once all that's done, you just leave that to sit. And when I first started doing this, I thought I'd just put 4 coats on there and call it good. Now I'm thinking about putting more on there for the whole set. But as you can see, it's coming out really nice there. Got really good color in it. It took stain really well. And I really like the results so far. And now it's just pretty much getting it to a level where I want it to be at as far as shine. And I think I might do 6 coats instead of 4. It'll take a couple extra days of curing, but still, it'll look better as a finished product. And that's the main thing that I'm going for when people see my finished gun. And yeah, so that's applying finish to an AK stock so far. And there's going to be a couple more coats. I'm not going to film those just because it's the same thing that I just did over and over again. So, there you go. Just do that as many times as you want to meet your specifications, and that is finishing an AK stock or any other gun stock.